Hiyo tabia ya kuingia darasa tukiwa tumechelewa sijui ilitoka wapi. So can someone hear me? Because sincerely speaking, I was here even before anyone. Elizabeth, good morning. Elizabeth Wanjiru.
Good morning.
I can't hear you clearly.
Good morning.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Susan Nyumba, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you. I had someone pray before we started the class, and then I was logged out. I don't know who logged me out. Who was that? Just say it is me, Mwalimu. There is nothing wrong with praying. In fact, we are advised to pray and pray until something happens. Who was praying for us? Or it was a ghost praying? You don't want to speak. When it comes to matters of religion, you should not be ashamed about it. If you are a Christian, you should be proud of that, because Christianity is a lifestyle, not about the word of mouth. So I had someone praying, and that person, don't be like Peter. When Peter was told by Jesus, you will deny me 3 times. That is exactly what is happening. So if you prayed and I've asked who prayed and you're not responding, then most probably you are like Peter, who was told you are with this man. He said, no, you are dreaming. I was not with that man. And he denied Jesus 3 times. So anyway, that is just by the way. And that was a way of breaking the ice or breaking the silence. I hope you are very prepared for the cat. Hope you are very prepared for the cat. And we'll talk about the cat when that time comes. For now, allow me to share the screen so that we can start our class. Hope you can see my screen, Elizabeth. Is my screen visible on your side?
Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is the only person who is speaking to me and responding on time. The others, they don't even want to tell me whether they prayed. They don't want to be known. Let's start our topic 5. Today we are looking at corporate social responsibility. I believe this class has got, we are 36, but it has got 72 students. So I don't know where the others are. I keep wondering, where are the others? What are they doing that is so important than what they have paid for? Sijui, na tukifungua kati tu saa hii utaona watu wamejazana wanafanya. And I'm wondering, why do people refuse to attend to classes when they are required to? That is, anyway, let me not say much. So today we are looking at corporate social responsibility. So corporate social responsibility is one of the strategic public relations activity. Those who attended last time's class, we looked at the topic was internal and external PR, external and internal public relations. And we also looked at activities, public relations activities. Then I said that those activities, we refer them to the strategic activities of public relations. And one of the activities, the strategic activities of public relations is corporate social responsibility. And we said that corporate social responsibility is giving back to the community what it deserves. Like, for example, we said, assuming that you are an organization, You've gone somewhere, you have established yourself in a certain country or in a certain community. Once you have established yourself, you now decide, because this community has made us who we are, because it's the community that buys your product when you put them in the stores, in the departmental stores or what you call supermarkets. It's the community that goes for your product. Like when you talk about equity, let me just give an example of equity. Equity, they call themselves Benki ya Mwananchi because it is a local bank. And this local bank, you find that the farmers, the teachers, they bank with equity. You can withdraw as less as 100 shillings from your equity account. That is something that is not common in most banks. In most banks, you can withdraw at least 1,000. If your money is not 1,000, then you cannot withdraw it. If it is 1,000 only, you cannot withdraw it, because you also need what you call charges. Now, when you look at that particular bank, you find that it has grown. Started just the others later for cooperative. It started after Cooperative Bank. There are many other banks that were there. We have what we call Absa Bank, initially known as Barclays Bank. We had what we call the National Bank. Equity came as the other day, and it is doing very well. And the reason why it is doing well, because of the corporate social responsibilities it carries. For example, the Wings to Fly sponsorship program. That is a CSR activity. So CSR is an organization's obligation to maximize positive stakeholders' benefits while minimizing negative effects of its action. So the idea of CSR comes from the fact that organization occupies large part of the society. They are not only responsible to their shareholders, they are also responsible to the community in general. So whenever you start a business or whenever an organization establishes itself in the community, it needs to give back to the society. You need to give back to the society. You're actually telling the society, were it not for you, we will not be where we are today. We will not have grown the way we have grown. And therefore, what do? You start now empowering the community. You start building schools for them. You start building toilets to those schools that are nearby, that do not have what we call conducive or very good toilets. So in other words, when you talk about CSR, organizations do not only exist to make profit. Profit is not the core thing, even though organizations survive to satisfy customers' requirement and make profit. But profit is not only the only thing that organization exists to do. So it does not only exist to make profit, but it also exists to improve the environment. For example, you find many companies building schools to the communities. You find many organizations deciding that we are going to tarmac the roads within the community. We are going to ensure that those people who perform very well in their exam, KCSE and KCPE, we are going to sponsor them to go to university and to secondary school. We are going to adopt children. There are organizations that adopt children and they pay for them school fees, or they sponsor them, they go abroad and study there. Now, so we are saying does not exist to make profit, but also improves the environment and life of other stakeholders and individuals whose lives would be affected either positively or negatively by the operation of the business. So CSR, it has gained an increasingly high profile in recent years. So you realize that CSR is very good because it can be defined as the way in which a business seeks to align its values and behaviors with those of its stakeholders. So the stakeholders of the business include the employers, the employees. These are the stakeholders. Remember last week we talked about the 6-point planning model, and under 6-point planning model, we looked at the publics of public relations. And we defined publics of public relations as those groups that does what? That interact with the organization either directly or indirectly. And we mentioned those groups, those publics. And these groups include who? They include employees, they include customers, they include suppliers, they include government, they include distributors, they include trade unions, they include what we call the media, the community, and so on and so forth. I mentioned 10 of them. I mentioned 10 of them like 3 times. Often it can be difficult balancing act of business to try effectively consider the perceived needs of those often disparate groups of stakeholders. So the concept of corporate social responsibilities. So companies are not the state, and they are not there to provide services and facilities which should properly be provided by the welfare agencies and paid for out of taxation. But now we are saying that the impact which businesses have on community in which they operate come in 3 levels. The impact, let me talk about this. The impact that which business have in the community in which they operate comes in 3 different levels. That as far as the business is established or an organization has been established and it is in the community, that impact comes in 3 different levels, and that at the most basic level, a community fulfills the legal requirement laid upon it. Yes, that is one impact. A business, before you operate a business in Kenya, it has to do what? To fulfill the legal requirement. Like you need to pay taxes. You need to pay taxes. You need to observe the laws and deal fairly with the stakeholders. So you need to pay taxes for you to operate in Kenya. And then you need to do what? To observe the laws. If you don't observe the laws, then you're going to be closed down. Last week, I gave an example of a person in, I don't know that it is Kiambu or in, let me just call it Central. Somebody wanted to open a morgue somewhere within the community. Wanted in Central. I don't want to say Kiambu or Murang'a, but one of them. He wanted to open a morgue within the community. Hey, the community were very furious, or the community members were very furious to a point that they say that they start building, they will start demolishing it. They even attracted the attention of the government to a point that that person who wanted to build a morgue there was denied the license. So in other words, when you talk about the community is very powerful. The community can give you a go-ahead to start a business, or it can actually tell you not to go ahead. It can do what we call it can be against you totally. The community can be against you totally. And if it is against you totally, and you go ahead and build that particular thing, they may come and demolish whatever your company. Or else, you will manufacture products and services, put them in the departmental store or supermarket, and they will not buy. They will not even allow their children to go and work there. So that's how harsh the community can be. The next impact is at level 2. The company takes account of its reasonability as an organization and consider any negative effect it may have. Yeah, you need to know the negative effect that you may have as a company. What are the potential effects of the company existence, the process, and product on the environment? For example, There was a company that was there some years back in Ukambani. I don't know Ukambani where, but there was a company and it was manufacturing lead. Lead is the black thing. And this company, it operated for a very long time. It was an Asian company. And after some years, because lead is poisonous, the community started experiencing the effect of lead. Because it is, the company, when it's manufacturing lead, there is what we call chemical emission into the air. So this chemical emission into the air, they also affect what we call the ozone layer. And when it rains, what comes down is acid rain. So this acid rain, if it goes to the crops don't grow. If you are the human beings living in that particular area, na mnakula zile sukuma za hiyo area, then unapata ya kwamba inawa affect. So many people after some years died of cancer. The crops were not doing well in that area. And so the community, those people who are affected, and so many people died of cancer. And those who are the remnants, those who survived, they went ahead and complained this to the government. I don't know how that story went, because it was a feature story that was done on Citizen so many years ago, almost 10 years ago. Now, in other words, we are saying at level 2, the company takes account of its reasonability on the organization and consider any negative effect it may have. Because it was an Asian company, in the first place, this company was there illegally. The reason why we have companies operating in Kenya illegally is because of corruption. It's because of corruption, nepotism, and all that, tribalism and all that. But because I know this person, let him just operate that business. And you don't care how the resident or what the effect of the company on the resident. So that is level 2. At level 3, the company operating at level 3 is less common. And this type of organization sees itself as having responsibility for health, for having responsibility for health, for healthy society, and accept the job of helping to overcome or to remove or alleviate problems in the society. There are some organizations, once they start in the community, they are operating, and their main corporate social responsibility is to alleviate problems. Like, for example, if you don't have water, they ensure that they dig boreholes for the community, or they do what we call, they bring piped water, that every household has got tapped water, and so on and so forth. They ensure that if you don't have classroom, they construct classrooms for you. They ensure that if there is women are they are jobless, they ensure that they bring the women and they fund them and they promote them. Maybe, for example, basket making, or maybe, for example, planting foodstuffs or fruits and exporting them to the West, and so on and so forth. Now, that is a company that is operating in level 3, that it is there to help the community to alleviate their problems or their poverty or something like that. So important of CSR strategy, or important of CSR as a strategic activity of PR. Number 1, it is to improve relationship with stakeholders. One of the importance of CSR is to improve relationship with stakeholders. And this refers to the fact that CSR activities, they help an organization to develop a relationship with stakeholders. For example, we have the community as our stakeholder. If you give back to the community will love you. They will love you, they will love your products, they would want what we call their children to work for you, and so on and so forth. So that is one thing, improving relationship with stakeholders. Stakeholders, we've said, is the community, the government, the media, the trade union, wholesalers, distributors, all those. So once an organization engages itself with the CSR, then it is improving a good relationship. It's creating a good relationship. It's just like, for example, you as a person. If you have a friend who cares about you, who calls you in the morning, have you taken breakfast? If you have not taken breakfast, he brings breakfast to you. Have you done this? Have you paid your school fees? If you have not paid, the friend pays you school fees for you, then you will always like this friend. The same case with organization that engages themselves in what we call community involvement, or that are so much into the community, they improve the relationship with the stakeholders. Number two, they attract what we call investors. This refers to drawing the attention of investors through CSR activities. So according to the study done by McKinsey & Co. and World Bank, 3/4 of stakeholders consider non-financial performance as important as financial performance, while evaluating the most suitable enterprise for investment. So in other words, let's think about Equity Bank. Equity, not bank. Nowadays, they call themselves Equity. Equity Wings to Fly. Anytime they are launching, anytime they are having this launch, you'll find that it has attracted the attention of the government. So you will find a government official there. Sometimes you will find the Minister for Education is there. You'll find other corporates like Safaricom is there. You'll find other banks coming to support Equity Wings to Fly, and other key stakeholders, other people. It does what we call, it attracts investors. Investors would want to invest with you because you are doing a noble thing. And that's why you find, if you are the Wazungus from the West, they think that Africa is very poor, and majority of them, they like what we call helping. They like extending their hand of help to Kenyans, but they land into what we call corrupt members in the society. Like especially churches, you find that these Wazungu, they want to do what? To help maybe the less fortunate kids, or the widows. So they go into churches, and sometimes they land into corrupt pastors, and they release money. They release money to help these people, but the corrupt pastors eat the money. So in other words, by so doing, they are trying to do what? To attract people. They are trying to attract what we call investors to invest with them. So improving financial performance. So this refers to enhancing the financial performance of an enterprise through CSR activities. Like, for example, think of an organization like Safaricom. We have Safaricom Foundation. The Safaricom Foundation is used to do what? To help children who have got what we call talent, but they are not able to do some things. Now, when you do that, you are improving on your financial performance, because the more people you bring in, the more investors and the more finances you have as an organization. Also, improving on public credibility. Credibility is trust. Like, think of an organization like Safaricom with their Safaricom Foundation. Think of an organization like Mata Hatran. Mata Hatran is a noble thing that is usually done by that is organized by Mater Hospital, and it is to raise fund to take children to various hospitals in the world that we have what we call professionals that can operate on them. So when you do that, you improve on what we call public credibility. Public trust you. Public trust you. Like the other day, I had somebody whose child had what we call heart problems. And there was a lady who was instructing her, when do we have Mater Heart Run? Mater Heart Run, they do it very well. You will not even have to contribute anything. Now you see, people are trusting you because of the good work that you are doing. So this refers to improving the credibility of an enterprise through CSR activities. In addition, enterprises should ensure that they have a strong dedication to implement CSR plans, and failure to meet commitment may lead to negative public response. So if you have said that you are going to take your child to India to be operated so that the heart can be operated on, and you fail, mumemfikisha mahali fulani mkasema pesa imewaishia, then credibility of that organization goes down. Number 5, utilizing resources effectively. When you have what we call CSR, this refers to when you talk about CSR, practices may help in using resources of the society in an effective manner. You are making a lot of profit as an organization, and you are making a lot of profit because of society. Because of that, what do? Instead of wasting money to buy more vehicles for the company, to do some things for the company, you use the money to do what? To help the community. But now, those are what we call what? Those are called importance of CSR strategies. They are what we call challenges also faced by organizations in implementing CSR activities. But as far as we have importance of CSR, they are also what we call challenges. One of it is lack of transparency. Lack of transparency. And this imposes a major hindrances in the authentic implementation of CSR programs when enterprises do not disclose the information regarding CSR programs and funds allocated to implement these programs. Now, this is what happens in most third world countries. Third world countries or developing nations. You find that an organization, for example, call this organization XYZ, they have what we call CSR activities. Maybe you are an organization that you help alleviate, or that you help alleviate poverty, or that help the community in a certain way, maybe by making sure they have clean water. So your work is to do what? To dig boreholes for the community. And maybe there is somebody who has been put in charge of that, finances, procurement, logistics. And then you find there are 2-3 elements there that are stealing money. Instead of buying, employing people who know what they are doing, you employ people who don't know exactly what they are doing, because you have stolen money for the community, for that is involved, or that is supposed to be involved in ensuring that that particular issue is implemented. So transparency is required in the following areas. Number 1, code of conduct. When you talk about PR, public relations, there are what we call codes of conduct for a public relations practitioner. And this includes the workers' rights and the environment protection. There is also what we call management standards. This includes integrating social and environmental aspects of an enterprise. We also have evaluation, and this involves what? It involves internal reporting of CSR activities. That person whose microphone is on, I'll kick you out. Hata hiyo kata hautafanya. Tiberius Sankale. I'll kick you out. Your microphone is on. I have warned you. The next thing you'll find yourself out. So we also have another challenge, lack of community participation. Yeah, for example, we may have a very good CSR activity, but the community doesn't want to participate. So this one hinders the prospect of CSR activities. For example, many countries have less knowledge of CSR. Liberians, I am removing you. You have become notorious. So if you disturb us, we remove you. So this hinders the prospect of CSR. Let me repeat. This hinders the prospect of CSR activities, and many countries have less knowledge of CSR. That's another thing. But many countries don't know what CSR is about. And therefore, it leads to lack of interest by communities to participate with enterprises in the CSR activities. For example, in the case of Kenya, organizations do not have adequate understanding of CSR. Like some of us, we have just had CSR for the first time because they lack tools, they lack resources, and commitment to carry out these activities. And this in turn results to in lack of initiative by Kenyan enterprises. You find that lack of community participation. We have CSR activities because the community will not participate. Find that the organization doesn't want to involve itself in CSR. We also have what we call lack of non-governmental organization or NGOs. So you find that some countries do not have NGOs, or they are actually NGOs. NGOs most of the time are the companies that brings about what we call CSR. So if there is no NGO, then unapata hiyo country ama kwa hiyo community CSR haziko, hakuna. Lack of CSR guidelines, and this applies that many countries do not have a clear guidelines relating to CSR. Remember, CSR, we should have guidelines on how they should be carried out, to what extent, and so on and so forth. As a result, the enterprise lack the proper direction to follow CSR practices. There is also what we call narrow view towards CSR initiative, and this refers to the limited perception of enterprises towards CSR activities. Importance, lack of budget, again, those one you're going to read. So what are some of the ethical implications of CSR? Number one is motive. Ethical implication of what we call CSR. One of it is what we call the motive. The motive behind CSR. Because you might find that people have got CSR activity that is supposed to help the community, but what is the motive behind it? You know, there are some organizations, they give what we call CSR, they involve themselves in what we call corporate social responsibilities, but their motive is to do what? Is to swindle people's money. I remember when I was growing up, there was a company that came, and this company, they called themselves an NGO, and they are helping children from poor background or poor families to do what? To go abroad and study. So many people from the community went there with their children. And they took photographs Of course, they were taking photographs and you are holding a white paper written your name and your problems. So if you are who? So if you are Lucy Mbele, then they write for you, your name Lucy Mbele, from a poor family, lacking school fees, or 10,000, or lacking school fees, just like that. So you are taking a photograph holding that white paper. Then you are given a form to fill. And they put your picture there. Now, that was the way they were doing things. But actually, what they were doing is to swindle people money. Before you go there, they were asking you for 2,000 shillings. Actually, they were calling it registration fee. So there were so many people there, so many of them, hundreds of thousands. They took 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, and they disappeared. They moved there, they went to another country, not country, but another county. They did that. They moved there, they went to another county. They did that. So sometimes you find a company having a very bad a very bad motive. Sometimes you'll find that maybe that particular NGO was being supported by serious NGOs. You can call it maybe, for example, United Nations. Maybe there was a Muzungu that was giving fund to them. Look for poor people that they can help them. Then they took an advantage and they never surrendered the images to, or surrendered the documents to the person who was supposed to help them. We also have what we call susceptible target, is another ethical implication. Here we are saying that in addition to considering the motivation companies need to consider their target publics, ethical considerations here are based on the susceptibility of the targeted audiences for the company's message. This may be to do with the age of the target public and recognition that young children and the elderly need special consideration. For example, sponsorship of event for charitable purposes may be aimed at school children. If a child is expected to pester parents to make a necessary purchase or competition element is introduced, which favors the children from a well-off family, ethical wisdom of the company may be questioned. For example, I think we have, it goes without saying, maybe for example, there's a competition that is going on. Or maybe you find that they're like what I've told you, an NGO wants to help poor children, don't have money to pay school fees. There is a facilitator. There is an organization that wants to help these people, want to sponsor them. So you, as the facilitator, the NGO, are requesting for 2,000 shillings for registration fee. You see now, this is a susceptible target. You are trying to tell us that anybody will not be able to contribute 2,000 shillings for registration, will not be considered. Remember, these are poor families. So you might find that 90% of the people will not be able to contribute the 2,000 shillings. Only those who can afford to be the one to be helped, giving those that are very poor. Also, we have the Footloose sponsor is another ethical consideration. Footloose sponsor, this is the company which does not have long-term or considered policy, which it takes to do what? Which takes opportunity as they arise. It can create some ethical problems. Footloose sponsor is somebody who has said that I'm going to sponsor a so-and-so to study until university. And in the middle, na kuachilia. Amekulipia fee ya mwaka ya kwanza, ya mwezi wa kwanza, alafu ukiwa umefika for the third year hapo, a second year. Mjamaa anasema pesa iliisha. Unaacha umehang. Masomo yako inaishia hapo. We also have favoritism and cherry picking. Favoritism and cherry picking simply means that, for example, this is an NGO. For example, this is a company, call it XYZ company. And it needs 100 children from poor families. Sponsor them. To sponsor them, do what? Sponsor them to study abroad, or to sponsor them, pay school fees for them. Because this particular information has come to David, so David does what we call cherry picking. He goes to the families that he knows. Anaenda kwa familia huyu ambaye anajua, anamwambia tunatafuta watoto ambao ni wanatakikana wafundishwe, wasomeshwe, fike university, walipiwe school fees. Tunaweza chukua so and so, and you pick one from there. And so tells you, go to another family, I know another family. So you pick the people that you know. Wale hawajulikani na wale hawajui, leave them alone. That one is called favoritism and cherry picking. That one is not CSR. So you are doing it because you know them. You're not doing it because it is a community. You're doing it because you know them. So you take the people that you know, and this one is happening a lot in our country. In our country, it is happening a lot. This is called tribalism, nepotism, corruption. Hii yote inaletwa na corruption. We need 100 kids from community AB. Of the people who are there, the official members, they decide we are going to bring people that we know. We are going to put children that we know. We are going to put people who will be wale watu watatoa kakitu. Tutawaweka hapo. So over-reliance on sponsor, another thing. There was a time I was listening to a member of Equity on radio. I was coming from town. I was in a matatu. I was heading home. It was around 7 p.m. And there was this man who was saying, Equity Wings to Fly is a very good program, and we help people who have performed very well to achieve their dreams. We go to high school and do what we call their study. Once they pass, they also, the bank also sponsors them, go to universities. But he was saying that the problem with many parents, once Equity has taken over their child, they don't want even to buy even a tissue. They don't want even to do what? Contribute even 100 shillings towards their children. They just leave Equity to do everything. So Equity does shopping for them. Equity does what we call, if they are sick, they take them to hospital. Equity buys for them clothes, uniform. Equity does this, it does everything to that particular child. But the parent, once he has released the kid, he has released the daughter, the young man to go and study, he relies 100% on Equity Wings to Fly. So he was saying that it is not good that even the parents whose kids are being helped, they should at least do something. their children. They should not over-rely on the sponsor. Because if you over-rely on the sponsor to even buy pads for your daughter, what are you doing? What are you saying? The sponsor, if something happens to the sponsor, your child will just come back to you. In other words, over-reliance to the sponsor is another challenge when it comes to what we call CSR. And there is also what we call dubious associations. Dubious association, it means that there are some organizations that hides themselves in what we call CSR. You are an organization, for example, let's talk of a church. You are an organization, you call yourself a church. And in this church, you say that you do what we call sponsoring. And to say the truth, you sponsor those children who are poor, sponsor widows, build houses to those without shelter, and so on and so forth. Behind the scene, there is something that you do. Maybe you do drug trafficking, maybe you do weapon smuggling, or maybe you do, there are dubious things that you do. So you are hiding yourself on the sponsorship. Now that you're getting the point, that is what we call dubious association. Okay, there is sponsoring going on this other side, but behind the scene, it's what we call the dubious things are happening. So that one is an ethical consideration. Another one is letting others off the hook. So what does that mean? One criticism of charitable donation is that they take the pace of proper provision. Similar criticism can be leveled at corporate community involvement, especially seen as alternative way of providing welfare services, essential equipment. Companies need to consider the ethical implication of providing goods or services as an act of charity. In that provision is deemed to be fundamental right of all citizens. The purpose of raising this ethical implication not only generate the way in which companies fulfill their CSR, both companies and the society in which they operate need to understand what they are doing and why. So we need to understand the company, what it is doing, and why it is doing what it is doing. For example, you cannot just go to a company and you say they are saying that this is CSR. Why are they doing it? For what reason are they doing it? Are they engaging themselves in that particular CSR activity? That is it. Unless there is a question, I will stop at that point. Any question? Swali, kuna swali. I believe that there are people who do not have a WhatsApp group. Who is our admin? Green is not this class. Is there anybody who is our admin? The WhatsApp group? If you are here, just say I am here. Don't just keep quiet. Because there is nobody and nobody wants to talk. Nakuja kufanya cut. Then watafutie link wale hawaja join class to join WhatsApp group. We have 52 members. For those who are not in the WhatsApp group, Stephanie, anyway, Stephanie, you talk. You don't just do what we call you text. I rarely read these texts. These texts mnaandikanga hapa, me I read them after the class. So you might be having a burning issue, but I don't know. I've shared a link there. Those who have not joined that WhatsApp group, you can join. Those who have not joined that WhatsApp group, you can join. Sometimes things happen and you find that you need to communicate to your students, you cannot get them. If you have not joined the WhatsApp group, there it is. And those who cannot be able to join, Stephanie Waithera is there. Stephanie, you just send your number to her. She will add you. Will add you to the group. Having said that, I think today is the day that you'll be sitting for Cat 2, Cat 1. I want you to get this and get it right. The university has realized that some of you, instead of doing your CAT, you copy a lot. You copy a lot. And therefore, I would want to tell you that for CAT, if you don't have a laptop, you cannot do it. So you will have to look for it. These are the problems that we create. And once we create this problem,